This is Command Post, a series of discussions about military matters from Time and the Center for a New American Security.
Paul, why did the United States decide it made sense for it to do the heavy lifting early in the campaign and then hand the war essentially off to our NATO partners?
Well, I think, John, that it's a matter of capability. The United States, Americans have a misperception about NATO. They think that NATO is an organization of 28 states that all kind of have equal amounts of power, potential. The United States is the largest member of NATO by far in terms of population, in terms of economy, in terms of military strength. And if NATO is to undertake anything, the United States must be there. And if it's not in the lead initially, then you're going to need a lot more countries of NATO other than the Brits and the French saying, we're here. They're inadequate by themselves. America needs to be there. America has unique military capabilities that other NATO states do not possess. For example, right now with the air operations that are ongoing over Libya today, while there are no U.S. aircraft in actual attack formations, there are U.S. aircraft providing intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance support, providing command and control, providing aerial refueling, providing a whole lot of other logistical support no one else can do.
And there are American drones actually still in the strike
Yes,
hold.
exactly, right.
So there are unmanned American airplanes conducting that strike.
When we talk about these things like their niche capabilities, ISR capabilities, the ability to conduct intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance of the battlefield, these shouldn't be niche capabilities. In-flight refueling, that shouldn't be a niche capability. Airlift shouldn't be a niche capability. Having enough munitions to conduct an independent air campaign, that shouldn't be a niche capability. And what we've seen is over the 1990s and over this decade, even as NATO's been involved in Afghanistan, you've seen a hollowing out of a lot of European member states in terms of their military forces. Some have remained quite robust. The French, the British are capable of operating independently to a degree, but others quite simply are not. And this is the reality that we've seen first off in Afghanistan and now again in Libya in an air campaign.
So is this a harbinger for future wars? Can we expect again to see the United States knocking the door down and doing the heavy lifting?
Well, what I think this does is that the Libya campaign combined with the campaign in Afghanistan is going to cause U.S. policymakers, the public, legislators to think differently about the value of our European allies going forward. And if they're not able to support a campaign that, quite frankly, is in their backyard, then how are they going to be able to support expeditionary operations in Asia, for example?
Or I'm not sure that the political coalition is as tight as they at first thought it was going to be. Who were the first planes to bomb the Gaddafi's forces outside of Benghazi, if I remember correctly?
The French.
The French. Yeah, and so did they get ahead of us? Did we get drug into something that had not been properly coordinated, or what? Additionally, a few weeks ago we saw the Italians begin to call for a halt in the bombing campaign. The problem with alliance warfare will always be the coalition's political will and its coherence.
And the contradictions are only going to get more ridiculous as this campaign drags out. Let's say, for example, there's a siege around Tripoli. Now, the order of battle in Libya has shifted away to the favor of the rebels. But let's say there's a siege around Tripoli where Gaddafi has a lot of support already. Okay, if rebels are threatening the civilians of Tripoli, if they suffer fuel shortages, food shortages, water shortages, it is conceivable that the United States and its allies will begin humanitarian relief to the citizens of Tripoli because they're under siege by a coalition that we've been giving aid to. And that is the, in essence, that's the fundamental problem that we get into when we go to war to protect humanitarian interests without a clear and articulated policy objective that we're going to push through with fully resourced military capabilities from the beginning.
Responsibility to protect applies to the civilians on both sides.
Absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm. And I would also add that that while we haven't heard about it, I am hoping that NATO and its members are now planning for the post-conflict stabilization that must occur.
The hard part of these wars isn't causing the government to topple. It's what happens afterwards.
Exactly right.
I think we all discovered that in various guises
In
in
spades.
in Iraq and Afghanistan. The one thing I would add there is that actually at this point, the U.S. restriction on boots on the ground, which makes sense if you're trying to limit the war, actually hurts you at this stage. Because post-conflict reconstruction doesn't begin when Baghdad falls. It begins when the first village in Iraq falls. It begins, and in Libya, it doesn't begin when Tripoli falls, when Gaddafi leaves. It should already be beginning. It's beginning in places like Benghazi. But if you don't have U.S. advisors on the ground, if you place restrictions on even Department of Defense civilians to go on the ground and see what the needs are to make a better post-conflict assessment going forward, then it's very difficult to do that kind of post-conflict reconstruction, even if the United States is not in the lead, even if we empower our European and Arab allies to take the lead on that.